Do you know in 1997 in Japan, a cow fell from the sky? Here is a historical fiction that happened in real life. In the long list of odd and unbelievable events that have happened on this planet, few stories combine comedy, confusion, and calamity quite like the one that unfolded in Japan in 1997. It is a tale that begins with a quiet fishing boat, a group of hard-working sailors, and an innocent cow that somehow found itself thousands of feet above the sea. What follows is the only recorded case in modern history of a ship being sunk by livestock falling from the sky, and though it sounds like a joke, it really happened. It was an ordinary day for the crew of a Japanese fishing vessel named Koyu Maru No. 1, sailing peacefully in the Sea of Japan. The morning was bright, the sea calm, and the men were focused on their nets and lines. They'd spent days out at sea catching fish to sell back on shore, and by all accounts, everything was going smoothly. The sailors were accustomed to long stretches of silence broken only by the sound of seagulls and the rhythmic splash of waves. But around midday, the peace was shattered by something unimaginable. One of the men looked up, shielding his eyes from the glare of the sun. Something, a dark, irregular shape, was falling fast from the clouds above. Before anyone could react, there was a thunderous crash. The object hit the deck of the boat with explosive force, smashing through planks, breaking equipment, and causing chaos everywhere. Within moments, water began rushing into the lower compartments. The crew screamed, scrambled, and tried desperately to make sense of what had just happened. When the spray cleared, they saw it. A cow. A real, full-grown cow, sprawled across the deck of their ship, very much dead and very much out of place. The impact had been so severe that it compromised the hull. The Koyu Maru No. 1 began to list dangerously to one side. The fishermen worked frantically to radio for help as seawater poured in. The Japanese Coast Guard arrived soon after and managed to rescue the entire crew, but the boat itself was lost beneath the waves, taking its strange stowaway with it. When the sailors were brought back to port and questioned about what had happened, they told the truth, the plain, ridiculous truth.
A cow fell from the sky and sank our ship.
The authorities, understandably, were skeptical. Investigators assumed that the men were lying to cover up some kind of negligence, perhaps an explosion, a collision, or simply human error. A falling cow sounded like something from a cartoon, not a Coast Guard report. The fishermen's claims were laughed at, dismissed, and even mocked in local newspapers. No one could imagine how a cow could possibly fall out of the sky in the middle of the ocean. Then, 2 weeks later, an unexpected message arrived from Russian Air Force officials. It turned the entire case upside down. The Russians admitted that one of their military transport planes, flying from the town of Blagoveshchensk, had been carrying a cow, yes, an actual living cow, on board. According to their account, a group of soldiers had acquired the animal locally, perhaps with the intention of using it for food later. Unfortunately for them, the cow did not appreciate its new airborne surroundings. Once inside the cargo bay, it panicked, violently. It began kicking, bellowing, and thrashing around so wildly that it endangered both the crew and the equipment. In the confined metal space of a transport aircraft, a terrified 600-kilogram animal is a serious problem. Faced with chaos, the soldiers had to make a quick decision. And, in what might be one of the most absurd solutions ever taken mid-flight, they decided to get rid of the cow. At altitude, over the Sea of Japan, they opened the cargo ramp and pushed the poor animal out. No parachute, no plan, just gravity. What happened next defies probability. The Sea of Japan is vast, about 1 million square kilometers. Yet the free-falling cow happened to drop directly onto a small fishing vessel at exactly the wrong time. The odds of such a collision are astronomically low, but not zero. The cow hit the Koyumaru No. 1 squarely, crashing through part of the deck and causing structural damage so severe that the ship soon sank. The fisherman's story, as insane as it had sounded, turned out to be 100% true. When the Russians relayed their confession to Japanese officials, it was both an apology and an explanation. The mystery was solved. But the absurdity of the entire episode left everyone, from diplomats to journalists, in stunned laughter. The story spread quickly around the world. Newspapers reported it under headlines like "Russian Cow Sinks Japanese Boat" and "Beef from Above." It became a running joke among sailors, aviators, and anyone who appreciated the strange sense of humor the universe sometimes displays. Still, there was never a complete official record from the Russian side. Some documents were classified, others were lost. Skeptics have suggested that parts of the story might have been exaggerated or that the cow was already dead before being jettisoned. But even if details are fuzzy, the essential facts, the falling cow and the sunken boat, are confirmed by both Japanese and Russian reports. To this day, no one can say exactly why the cow was loaded onto the plane in the first place. The most likely explanation is that soldiers obtained it for food and decided to transport it back to base. Russian military logistics in the 1990s were notoriously chaotic, and unusual cargoes were not uncommon. Still, tossing a live cow out of an aircraft remains one of the most reckless acts ever recorded outside of wartime. The cow, of course, did not survive. The fishermen lost their vessel, but fortunately, no lives were lost among the crew. After the truth came out, the Japanese fishermen were vindicated. Their unbelievable story was finally believed, though not without a touch of humor. The case was quietly closed, and the Russian government offered a formal apology. Over time, the cow that fell from the sky became something of a modern legend. It's the kind of story that seems too ridiculous to be true, yet it reminds us that real life doesn't always obey the rules of logic. Sometimes, the universe just decides to drop a cow on you. The incident is often retold as a joke, but it carries a curious moral. It speaks to the unpredictability of life, the limits of human planning, and the sheer randomness of fate. The fishermen did nothing wrong. They were simply in the wrong place at the wrong time, and that place happened to be under a falling cow. Whenever someone says, "It could be worse," remember, it could literally rain cows. Decades later, the story of the falling cow is still shared in aviation and maritime circles. It's cited in safety lectures as a reminder that unexpected hazards can come from anywhere. It's also beloved by storytellers because it shows that truth can be far stranger than fiction. No author could invent something quite so absurd. And yet it happened, once, high above the Sea of Japan. So if you're ever out at sea, gazing at the sky, and you see a shadow drifting downward, maybe take cover. Because somewhere out there, the spirit of the airborne cow still reminds us. Always expect anything from above. Please like and subscribe for more.